Today I am going to tell you about India and Bangladesh relationship. India and Bangladesh has built relationship since 1971 when Bangladesh was created. India and Bangladesh are the closest neighbors. Once when India was under the British rule in 1947, at that time before that India, Bangladesh and Pakistan were the same country, but the faulty policy of the British government when they departed India, they created a problem, permanent problem in India by bifurcating two independent dominion of states, one India and the other is Pakistan, and today's Bangladesh was included within the Pakistan. Now in this lecture I am going to tell you how India helped to create Bangladesh in 1971 and how India and Bangladesh grew a tight or very close relationship in South Asia. But before that, I am telling you about South Asia because the students should know what is South Asia. They are aware of this term, but many of the students of political science may not aware about the countries. What are the countries included in South Asia and what are the total population of this area and how significant is South Asia in international relations. South Asia is the southern sub-region of Asia. It consists of 2.04 billion population, which comprises of a quarter of the world's population. As commonly conceptualized, the modern states of South Asia include Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, the Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, with Afghanistan also often included, which may otherwise be classified as part of Central Asia. South Asia has a total area of 5.2 million square kilometer, which is 10% of Asian continent. South Asia is the most populous and the most densely populated geographical area in the world. In 2022, South Asia had the world's largest populations of Hindu, Muslim, Sikhs, Jains and Zoroastrians. South Asia alone accounts for 90.47%, 95.5% of Sikhs and 31% of Muslims worldwide, as well as 35 million Christians and 25 million Buddhists. The South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, which is popularly known as SAARC, is an economic cooperation organization in the region which was established in 1985 and includes all 8 nations comprising South Asia. Now I am going to tell you about India and Bangladesh relation, but prior to that I would say about today's Bangladesh. What is the population size of Bangladesh and what is their rank and density of population, total land area, etc. A brief introduction of Bangladesh. The current population of Bangladesh is elaboration of the latest United Nations data. Bangladesh in 2024 has an estimated population, I told, 174 million, and Bangladesh's population is equivalent to 2.13% of total world population. Bangladesh ranks number 8 in the list of countries and independences by population. The population density in Bangladesh is 1,333 per square kilometer. The total land area is 1,30,170 square kilometer. 42% of the population live in urban areas, which is better than India. The median age in Bangladesh is 25.7 years. It also proves that Bangladesh has a large number of young population who are full of vigor and vitality, who can be utilized in any creative activity for the growth and development of the country and the region as a whole. Let me begin. As Bangladesh-India relations steps into their 50th year in 2021, following the emergence of Bangladesh as an independent and a foreign state and a sovereign state in 1971. It is fitting to take stock of the journey of these critically important and historic ties. It is equally important to look to the future with a shared goal of ensuring that these relationship grows in depth and dimension in the days ahead and become a relationship that benefits the people of both sides of the border in equal measure. The denial of the outcome of the elections of 1970, in which Awami League, under the dynamic leadership of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, on a clear mandate to govern Pakistan, led to a situation that changed the political landscape of South Asia forever, where preparations were put in place by Pakistan's military dictatorship. It culminated with the Pakistan military launching a brutal and genocidal military campaign on the Bengali population just after midnight of March 25, 1971. The people of Bangladesh rose up in arms against the action of the Pakistani military that led to the breakup of Pakistan and the eventual birth of independent Bangladesh 9 months later, aided in very large measure by the government and armed forces of India, because the interest of so many Bengali people were involved. Bengali people particularly, were demonstrating, were agitating against the imposition of Urdu language. There was a direct cause of conflict between the then Pakistani government and the Bengali people living in then East Pakistan and now an independent and sovereign country, Bangladesh. Bangladesh's journey as an independent state began in 1971. Bangladesh's early days were exceedingly difficult. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman had taken the reins of Bangladesh with overwhelming public support, but had inherited a country in shambles. It was dysfunctional economically, and the infrastructure and transportation system were badly damaged. At the time of war, the country lacked almost every resource it needed for recovery. For Bangabandhu and his government, there were major challenges on the international front as well. This was the Cold War era, and the major global players saw things through the prism of bipolar rivalry that existed then. The major Arab countries, especially Saudi Arabia, refused to accept the breakup of Pakistan and refrained from recognizing Bangladesh as an independent and sovereign country. The same was the case with the People's Republic of China. China also initially did not recognize Bangladesh as an independent state. It was not until 1974 that China withdrew its objection at the United Nations Security Council to Bangladesh becoming a full member of the United Nations. But it stopped short of formal diplomatic recognition. Bangladesh joined the Commonwealth in early 1972 and the non-aligned movement in the following year. In 1974, Prime Minister Sheikh Rahman, in a dynamic diplomatic move laced with political undertones, took Bangladesh to the center of the Islamic world when he accepted the invitation to attend the Organization of Islamic Countries Summit in Lahore. Reports indicated that Bangabandhu's Lahore trip and joining the Islamic fold was apparently not seen favorably in Delhi, especially so soon after the traumatic events of the Liberation War. The decision of Bangladesh to join the OIC and to do so by going to Pakistan was seen by analysts at home and abroad as a calculated move on three counts. Number one, that formal recognition of Bangladesh as an independent state by Pakistan was a political necessity to Bangladesh. Second, as Prime Minister of a sovereign country, Sheikh Mujib was keen to demonstrate a measure of autonomy in making the country's foreign policy choices. And third, it was a recognition that with the demographic makeup of Bangladesh as a Muslim majority country, it had a rightful place in this group. Whatever might be seen the rationale, the move resonated well at home because the Bangladesh people had accepted and encouraged Sheikh Mujib's this initiative. Bangladesh-India relations, a look at history. Bilateral relations between Bangladesh and India are rooted in irreversible history and conditioned by the permanence of geography. India's direct role in Bangladesh's War of Liberation in 1971 has shaped the relationship between the two South Asian neighbors. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman assumed the office of Bangladesh Prime Minister on the backdrop of the remarkable piece of history. The relationship was more like a natural bonding between two peoples. The feeling of mutual goodwill was as real as it was pervasive. On the bilateral front, three major events happened in the atmosphere of bonhomie between India and the newborn country Bangladesh. First, at the request of Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Indian Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi herself, riding on a wave of popularity in India and goodwill in Bangladesh, agreed to withdraw Indian military personnel from the territory of Bangladesh. The event, loaded with political symbolism, happened as early as March 1972 during Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's official visit to Dhaka. It was a manifestation of the wisdom and vision of the political masters at that time. Second, it was the signing of the 25-year treaty titled the India-Bangladesh Treaty of Friendship, cooperation and peace in Dhaka on 19 March 1972 by Prime Ministers Indira Gandhi and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on behalf of the respective governments. The treaty, however, did become a subject of controversy in Bangladesh, especially provisions 9 and 10, which people saw as unequal and as an imposition of excessive Indian influence. Dhaka felt that these determined the sovereignty of Bangladesh. Not surprisingly, therefore, the treaty was not renewed after its expiry in 1997, even though Bangabandhu's daughter Sheikh Hasina was Prime Minister at the time. The third event of significance was the signing of the India-Bangladesh Land Boundary Agreement, which is famously known as LBA, which was signed in 1974 by Prime Minister Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and Indira Gandhi. The agreement was aimed at resolving once and for all the bizarre anomalies in the land boundaries between the two neighbors, which included the demarcation of sections of the boundary between the two countries, the exchange of enclaves and lands in adverse possession in each other's territories, legacies left behind by the departing British colonial rulers. However, the delay in full implementation of the LBA was one of the two major issues that stood out at sore points. The other was the sharing of the waters of the Ganges River. The land border agreement, to any sensible mind, the very existence of such enclaves and lands in adverse possession between two neighboring countries would sound bizarre. But in the case of Bangladesh and India, this was one of the many territorial absurdities which was resulting in painful and uncertain consequences for many. The signing of the 1974 Land Boundary Agreement, or LBA, between Prime Ministers Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and Indira Gandhi for their respective countries was aimed at settling or setting things right. For its part, Bangladesh delivered on its side of the deal without any delay. This meant ratification of the LBA by the Parliament and transfer of the South Beribari to India. However, the delivery from the Indian side stagnated and got caught up in the haze of legal, technical, and at times political issues. In 2009, the Awami League government under Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina brought this issue back to the top of the agenda, and steps were taken for its solution as a matter of priority. This was a matter of contention, and it was a matter of major development with the coming of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in office in Delhi and his neighborhood first policy. Concrete steps were taken in India for the implementation of something that has been long overdue. His deft handling of the political stakeholders in India and his careful maneuvering of the issue in the center and in the states finally made this a reality. The euphoric jubilation that followed that midnight of July 31, 2015 was only to be expected. India and Bangladesh is and was having problems relating to water sharing of Tista and other rivers. Let us discuss in short about water sharing problems. The Ganges Water Sharing Treaty between Bangladesh and India was signed in Delhi between Prime Minister Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and Indira Gandhi. No, at that time Prime Minister was Deve Gowda. On behalf of their respective countries, on 12 December 1996. It was a major step forward. The treaty is initially valid for a period of 30 years. This removed a major irritant, the failure to sign the Tista Water Sharing Agreement, despite having agreed on a draft in 2011, and despite several efforts from Bangladesh at the highest political level, continues to cause resentment in Bangladesh. Notwithstanding the lack of progress on sharing of the waters of the Tista River, both countries have moved forward to address the sharing of the waters of some common rivers. Accordingly, Dhaka and Delhi have agreed to share data on water use or withdrawal of water from 6 common rivers such as Manu, Mahuri, Khowai, Gomti, Dharla and Dudhkumar. As both countries are working on a water sharing deal, Feni River water sharing is also under discussion. India and Bangladesh have a few water sharing issues. These include Tista River, Ganga River and water contamination. Tista River, this river is a source of contention between the two countries because of the need of equitably share its water, especially during the dry season. Bangladesh wants a larger share of water than it currently has. The issue is complicated by the fact that individual states in India have a lot of influence over transboundary agreements, and particularly West Bengal, a key stakeholder, has not yet endorsed the deal. Second, Ganges River. The Ganges Water Treaty, which was signed in 1996, sets out the minimum amount of water that India and Bangladesh must share during the dry season. However, the treaty faces challenges such as growing gap between water demand and supply, declining groundwater levels and climate variability, and water contamination. In Bangladesh, 86% of the poorest households have water contaminated with E. coli, and 16.7% of the population consume arsenic water. Chronic arsenic poisoning can cause skin lesions. It is reported in the Indian water rivers, or Ministry of Water Resources, Department of Waterways, Government of India. It comes to light from their report published in 2023 that an Indo-Bangladesh Joint Rivers Commission (JRC) is functioning since 1972. It was established with a view to maintain liaison in order to ensure the most effective joint effort in maximizing the benefits from common river systems. The JRC, or Joint Rivers Commission, headed by water resources ministers of both the countries. 38th meeting of the JRC was held at New Delhi from 25th August 2022, wherein various matters pertaining to cooperation in water resources section with Bangladesh were discussed in details. A new chapter in the Indo-Bangladesh relations opened up with signing of a treaty by the Prime Ministers of India and Bangladesh on 12 December 1996 on the sharing of Ganges waters, about which I just told a few minutes ago. The treaty shall remain in force for a period of 30 years to be renewable by mutual consent. For monitoring the implementation of the treaty, a joint committee has also been set up. Discussions have been continuing with Bangladesh for sharing of waters of Tista and Feni rivers besides other 6 common rivers such as Monu, Mohuri, Khowai, Gomti, Jaldhaka and Torsha. Government of India is at its endeavor to conclude the agreement of the sharing of waters of Tista and Feni rivers with Bangladesh, which is acceptable to all parties concerned and which protects the interests of all stakeholders. A memorandum of understanding was signed on 5th October 2019 between the Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of the Republic of India, and Ministry of Water Resources, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, on withdrawal of 1.82 cusecs of water from Feni River by India for drinking water supply scheme to Sabrom town, Tripura, India. Another memorandum of understanding was signed on 6th September 2022 between Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of the Republic of India, and Ministry of Water Resources, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh on withdrawal of up to 153 cusecs of water by India and Bangladesh from the common border river Kushiara during the dry season for the consumptive water requirements of each country. There exists a system of transmission of flood forecasting data on major rivers like Ganga, Tista, Brahmaputra and Barak during the monsoon season from India to Bangladesh. The transmission of flood forecasting information during the monsoon has enabled the civil and military authorities in Bangladesh to shift the population affected by floods to safer places. But the bone of contention is with the sharing of Tista river water. It's still a problem, it was a problem, and it is still a problem, though some advancements have been made between Indian Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi and the deposed Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina. You see, whenever India and Bangladesh signed a treaty recently, it was not supported or recognized by West Bengal Chief Minister Srimati Mamata Banerjee. Why Mamata Banerjee up in arms over Modi Hasina talks on Tista water sharing? She has written a letter to the Prime Minister stating that, quote, "It is to convey my strong reservation that no discussion on sharing of Tista water and the Farakka Treaty should be taken up with Bangladesh without the involvement of the state government. The interest of people in Bangladesh is in West Bengal is paramount, which should not be compromised at any cost." It was written by Chief Minister of West Bengal to Prime Minister. In this letter, she emphasized that if Tista river water was shared with Bangladesh, lakhs of people in North Bengal would be severely impacted due to inadequate availability of irrigation water. So definitely the state government will see its interest. Another issue with Bangladesh is border killings. The killing of Bangladeshi nationals at the border by Indian border security personnel has been a major source of disquiet in Bangladesh. The figures have gone down somewhat, although it is yet to reach the zero figure promised by successive Indian governments. Some incidents of late have raised concerns again, and problem needs to be addressed in earnest. And what are the challenges and way forward? In a big neighbor and small neighbor scenario, as is the case with India and Bangladesh, it is not unusual for the smaller neighbor to look for balance. This is an acceptable practice in diplomacy. India also recognizes that the smaller countries of South Asia like Bangladesh are today in a position to demonstrate a good measure of autonomy in pursuing their foreign policy goals, which protect their political, economic and security interests while balancing strategic friendships. However, given the special nature of the Bangladesh-India relationship, it is imperative for both countries to nurture it as such. It is also important for both the countries to foster this relationship with a positive mindset and ensure that it can be further diversified and strengthened in the future for mutual benefit. Dhaka and New Delhi also must recognize the need to be sensitive to each other's political and security concerns and interests, to look for pragmatic ways to address issues, even on issues with divergent views. In order for Bangladesh and India to maintain the momentum of positive relations, it is perhaps necessary to focus on a number of areas. This can be, but not limited to, the following. Diplomatic interaction between two countries should focus on addressing issues that remain unresolved and fortifying those that have been resolved satisfactorily. Bilateral diplomacy should therefore encompass addressing all aspects of the relationship. Hence, there is need for consistent interactions between all the relevant government agencies and not just be confined to the two foreign ministers. Rather, it should be people-to-people contact. Number two, in addition to more regular political contacts at all levels, the visible increase of people-to-people contact between the two countries must be a sustained exercise. The strength of the relationship between neighboring states depends to a very large measure on the nature of relationships between the people of the states. Strong people-to-people contact gives the relationship greater visibility and enriches its sustenance. Similarly, regular, frequent, and broad-based interactions between civil society groups of the two countries as part of public diplomacy should be encouraged to complement efforts at the government levels. This will give the ties greater breadth and clarity and make the two process more participatory. The Dhaka Global Dialogue of 2019 at the think tank levels, which was also endorsed by the political leadership of both countries, was an innovative contrast. Such exercises should be a continuous process. Number three, increased and extensive cooperation in the health sector has become a priority in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India sent a gift to Bangladesh, 2 million doses of Oxford AstraZeneca Covishield during COVID-19 period. Also, India sent, in addition to this, 5 million doses to Bangladesh, would source from India in the coming days. India helped Bangladesh and will continue to help in sector of health. Number 4, multimodal and seamless connectivity between Bangladesh and India should go beyond the bilateral arena and extend to the greater South and Southeast Asian region. Connectivity benefits the people of both the countries the most. The socio-economic development of the people has always centered on the quality of connectivity and communication between countries. Number 5, enhanced defense and security cooperation and interaction is another important area that needs attention. Unlike conventional defense cooperation arrangements that Bangladesh has built up over the years with other countries, the one with India is fundamentally different. This one was crafted in the battlefield and is written in blood. During a visit to Bangladesh in 2019, the former Indian Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar made a poignant reference to that part of our shared history, as it is the exchange of visits at the highest levels of the armed forces of the two countries has helped strengthen ties. The Bangladesh-India joint military exercise Sampriti is a continuing process. It is an annual exercise with the focus on counter-terrorism cooperation and boosting interoperability between the two militaries. India has also been holding direct army-to-army staff talks with Bangladesh since 2009. The Indian Defence Minister's visit has created the potential for enhanced military and security cooperation between Bangladesh and India. The participation of a contingent from the Bangladesh Armed Forces at the Indian Republic Day Parade in Delhi this year, in 2021 actually, was visible manifestation of the history of military cooperation between the two countries that continued India-Bangladesh friendship. Number 6, Bangladesh and India need to work together beyond the bilateral context and explore cooperation in the broader regional geopolitical theater. This has become all the more relevant in the multipolar Asia. Geographically, Bangladesh sits on the top of the Bay of Bengal and shares its maritime and land boundaries with India and Myanmar. It is the coupling in the chain that connects South and Southeast Asia and is linked through the Bay of Bengal to the India and by extension the Pacific Oceans. It is this very location that gives Bangladesh its geopolitical and strategic relevance. On this part, Bangladesh has much to offer, beginning with the fact that it is on the verge of graduating to a middle-income country. The country has recorded enviable and consistent economic growth in recent times. Bangladesh can rightly boast of having a secular society with a positive track record of the education of girls and empowerment of women. In the area of foreign policy, Bangladesh believes in the principle of using diplomacy as the primary tool for protecting its national interests and for resolution of disputes. India also believes in bilateral relations. India also believes in dialogue for any international dispute, may it be Israel-Palestine dispute, may it be Russia and Ukraine dispute, or any other international dispute. It has been a strong advocate of mutually beneficial bilateral, regional and trans-regional relationships. Its commitment to combating the threats posed by climate change and global warming has been consistent. Bangladesh's policy of zero tolerance of extremism and terrorism has been amply demonstrated. More recently, Bangladesh has earned universal accolades for providing shelter to more than 1 million Rohingya refugees fleeing extreme persecution in Myanmar. But after the resignation of Sheikh Hasina, there has been a crisis in Indo-Bangladesh relationships, and an uncertainty has been emerged in the Indo-Bangladesh trade relations. Bangladesh is India's 25th largest trading partner, with the size of bilateral trade at $12.9 billion. The trade is dominated by exports, with Bangladesh being India's 8th largest export partner. In the financial year 2024, India's exports to Bangladesh contracted by 9.5% to $11 billion merely. So this is a sharp decline of business and international trade between these two countries. Over the past 2 years, outbound shipments to Dhaka have been declined. For instance, during financial year 2022, Bangladesh was India's 4th largest export market. However, outbound shipments were affected by factors such as dollar shortage in Bangladesh, high inflation, and other factors like India's export restrictions on essential items such as wheat and some categories of rice. Bangladesh is also a key destination for Indian auto exports alongside African and Latin American countries. The political unrest in the neighboring country could also pose risk for investors for their existing projects and may lead to an influx of illegal migrants into India. The political unrest in Bangladesh will create definitely uncertainty for exporters. In fact, there will be greater risk for investors. According to Delhi-based think tank Global Trade Research Initiative, India's exports such as onions, other agricultural products, and electricity are crucial for the people and economy of Bangladesh and may not be significantly affected by the unrest. Tension prevails when Sheikh Hasina resigned and fled to India. There was a tension, and particularly the Hindu people, many Hindus tried to cross border, like from Guwahati, from Assam, from Coach Bihar, and from other places. The Guwahati frontier of the Border Security Force successfully thwarted large-scale attempt to enter India from Bangladesh border in Coach Bihar district, West Bengal. Similarly, approximately 1,000 people, reportedly Bangladeshi nationals, mostly Hindus, approached the borders seeking refuge to India. So this was attempts by Bangladeshi Hindu nationals who wanted to come to India for safety of their life and property. But after nearly 40 days of Sheikh Hasina's resignation from Bangladesh, on the 1 month celebration of Sheikh Hasina's resignation, there were big rallies in Bangladesh to mark the month since ex-premier Sheikh Hasina was ousted from power. So thousands of students and others rallied in Bangladesh's capital to mark a month since former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was ousted from power by a massive uprising initially led by students over a quota system for government jobs. So people have started shouting slogans and they are now seeking Sheikh Hasina in their country for trial. However, the ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has taken shelter in India, and to India, it is India's eternal policy. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It means the world is one family. And Atithi Devo Bhava. When the ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina wanted shelter in India, India by nature gave shelter to her. But when she speaks from the soil of India against Bangladesh, then definitely it created problems in Bangladesh. And Muhammad Yunus, the head of interim government, properly said that these her remarks are making unfriendly gesture. I mean, when she is talking from India about Bangladesh, it doesn't look nice, and people of Bangladesh is also not accepting these very happily. So you see, the protesters and other opponents of Hasina want her and her associates to stand trial for mass killings during the demonstration that began in July. So if India wants to keep her until the time Bangladesh wants her back, the condition would be that she has to keep quiet. Muhammad Yunus, the interim government chief advisor, said this. Further, he said, quote, "No one is comfortable with her stance there in India because we want her back to try her. She is there in India and at times she is talking, which is problematic. No one likes it," unquote. In conclusion, I would like to say that the present state of relations between India and Bangladesh is one of that marked by positive intentions and actions, and has the promise of a brighter future. The resolution of contentious issues like that of land and maritime boundaries and the signing of a long-term water-sharing agreement on the Ganges have played an important part in moving these relations in the right direction. People-to-people contact and cultural exchanges have seen an exceptional rise. This is the right way to nurture these relations for sustainability and healthy growth. While Dhaka must remain sensitive to India's concerns, Delhi on its part should be able to recognize that many of those concerns are common to both and need to be addressed as such. Of late, for instance, India's perceived ambiguity on the ongoing Rohingya crisis has raised questions in Bangladesh. Here, Bangladesh would expect her closest neighbor and friend to recognize that the Rohingya refugee crisis is not just a bilateral humanitarian issue between Bangladesh and Myanmar. It is one of that can have broader ramifications, potentially threatening security and stability in the region. Definitely, India does not have any problem if Bangladesh gives shelter to politically persecuted Rohingyas and give shelter to them in their own land. However, India-Bangladesh relation is a good one and will continue to be better in the future, and it seems that at present, India's relation with Bangladesh is sweet and sour after the resignation and fleeing of Sheikh Hasina. Whatever it may be, India's relation with Bangladesh was good, and I wish that it will continue to be better in the days to come. I would say that one of the quotations of Dr. S. Jaishankar, who wrote in one of his books, The Indian Way. He wrote that India's role in the Bangladesh Liberation War in 1971 as a major success story in India's foreign policy, both in diplomatic and military terms. With that partnership forming a solid foundation, there is every reason to build on it and further strengthen it in the future. Finally, I would say that after the resignation and with the new regime headed by Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus, a great man, a great social scientist, a great economist, and a great social business initiator, I hope that a new sun is rising in the bilateral relationship, where both the countries will show affirmative gestures to rebuild trust and grow bilateral trade and business, increase people to people and government to government communication on the basis of mutual respect and shared foreign policy. Hope to rebuild a better relationship in the days to come. I would like to conclude here with these few words. Thank you. Thank you very much.